The weather this weekend is about to go off the rails. Not one storm, not two storms. A full-scale assault of severe weather across multiple regions. And millions of people are in the crosshairs. In the Midwest, a relentless storm pattern refuses to break, delivering day after day of damaging winds, large hail, and the threat of tornadoes. In the Ohio Valley, floodwaters are rising after days of relentless rainfall. And thousands of miles away, a rare tropical system is closing in on Hawaii, threatening to end a 30-year streak. 3 separate threats, one weekend. And each one carries its own danger. Each one demands a different kind of awareness. Each one could change lives in an instant. The Midwest is bracing for more severe weather. The Ohio Valley is watching water levels climb. And Hawaii is preparing for a storm that hasn't happened in a generation. A single stubborn weather pattern is responsible for all of this. A sprawling heat dome parked over the south is acting like a boulder in a river, forcing the jet stream to curve around its northern edge. And that curving path has become a conveyor belt for storms. One after another, day after day. The heat dome is the engine driving this entire weekend of extremes. If you want to understand what's coming and how to stay safe, stick around. I'll break down every region, every threat, and exactly what you need to know. Because this weekend isn't just another weather event. It's a test of how prepared we really are. And in a pattern this active, the difference between being informed and being caught off guard can be measured in the time it takes to read an alert. Let's start with the mainland. Friday is where the story begins, and it's already in motion. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a slight risk of severe weather across Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. This is roughly the 5th or 6th day in a row that these same communities have been under a severe weather threat. If you're keeping count, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The fatigue is real, the anxiety is real, and the danger is real. People are tired. They're exhausted from watching the sky. They're exhausted from checking their phones for alerts. And that exhaustion is dangerous because it can lead to complacency. The ground beneath them can't take much more. Every new round of storms drops more water on already saturated soil, and that's a recipe for flash flooding. When the ground is full, the water has nowhere to go but up, and it rises fast. In some areas, the soil is so saturated that even moderate rain causes immediate runoff and localized flooding. The ground is like a sponge that's already full. The primary concern is damaging wind gusts, the kind that snap trees, down power lines, and turn loose objects into missiles. Expect multiple rounds, not just one. Each new line of storms follows a similar path, hitting the same communities again and again. This repetitive nature of the storms means that the risk compounds with each passing hour. Every new round of storms brings fresh damage to already weakened infrastructure. Large hail is possible, especially near Denver and parts of Iowa and Missouri. There's also a low but real tornado threat sliding into the afternoon, focused on places like Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, and Davenport. These are populated areas with millions of people who need to be paying attention. A single tornado in a populated area can cause billions of dollars in damage and loss of life. Hail of significant size can also cause extensive damage to homes, vehicles, and crops. If you live anywhere in that zone, make sure you have more than one way to get a warning. Phones get silenced, apps fail, batteries die, have a backup. A no AA weather radio, a dedicated app that can override silent mode, or even a neighbor who will call you. The difference between receiving a warning and missing it could be the difference between life and death. Saturday isn't a break. It's an escalation. The danger is about to move. This is when the pattern really starts to flex its muscles. The Storm Prediction Center has carved out 2 separate slight risks for severe storms. One sits over the Central Plains. The other stretches from southern Michigan and Indiana all the way down into South Carolina. That's a massive area covering tens of millions of people. The expansion of the risk zone reflects the growing instability across the region. The atmosphere is becoming increasingly volatile. The headline, "Hazard is damaging wind." Gusts up to 75 mm. The kind of wind that can knock out power to thousands and cause widespread damage. In some areas, the wind could be even stronger, approaching hurricane force. The strongest winds are typically found in the leading edge of the storm line, where downdrafts are most intense. A line of storms can produce a swath of wind damage that extends for hundreds of miles. There's also a genuine tornado threat. The highest risk sits near Kalamazoo, South Bend, Fort Wayne, and Columbus, populated areas that need to be paying close attention. The ingredients for rotation are present, and even a weak tornado in a populated area can cause significant damage. The combination of wind shear and instability is particularly concerning for this region. Forecasters are watching this area very closely. Knowing that severe weather is coming is one thing. Knowing when it's arriving is what keeps you safe. The window for the most intense activity looks to be between 5 and 9 p.m. That's evening time, when families are having dinner, watching TV, or heading out for the night. Don't let your guard down just because the sun hasn't set yet. The most dangerous storms often fire in the late afternoon and early evening hours. If I had to point to the single most dangerous element of this entire setup, it isn't the wind. It isn't even the tornadoes. It's the water. Water is the quiet killer. It doesn't make dramatic videos. It doesn't get the same attention as tornadoes, but it kills more people every year than any other weather hazard. The Weather Prediction Center has issued a moderate risk of excessive rainfall for the Des Moines and Davenport area. This is the second highest level on their scale, level 3 out of 4. Forecasters don't use this language casually. It means they have high confidence in a widespread flooding event. This is the kind of risk level that emergency managers take very seriously. It means the potential for significant impacts is real. We're looking at several inches of rain across that region, with isolated areas capable of picking up 6 to 12 inches in a single day. Some models are even hinting at higher totals. That's a month's worth of rain in 24 hours. When you're dealing with that kind of rainfall, even well-designed drainage systems can be overwhelmed. The water has to go somewhere, and it will find the lowest points. The ground is already saturated. It can't absorb another downpour, so the water has nowhere to go but up, and it rises fast. Creeks become rivers, rivers become lakes, basements become swimming pools. The compounding effect of multiple days of rain is what makes this event so dangerous. The cumulative rainfall over the past week has created conditions that are primed for flooding. If you come to a flooded road, turn around. 6 inches of water can sweep you off your feet. 12 inches can carry away a car. Don't become a statistic. It takes just a moment of poor judgment to end a life. Water is the quiet killer that takes more lives than any other weather hazard in an average year. More people die from flooding than from tornadoes, hurricanes, or lightning combined. It's not even close. If you live in a flood-prone area, know your route to higher ground before you need it. Don't wait until the water is rising to figure out where to go. The time to plan is now. Know how you would get out of your home if the water starts rising. Know where you would go. Have a plan that you can execute without hesitation. Sunday is when the danger shifts eastward. The storm system is moving, and it's taking the threat with it. Another round of severe weather is expected, and the zone to watch is sliding toward Washington, D.C., Virginia, and West Virginia. The corridor from southern Pennsylvania down toward Virginia Beach is the area of greatest concern. The shift in the threat reflects the eastward movement of the storm system. The jet stream is pushing the energy toward the coast. Supercells that develop there will be capable of rotating and producing isolated tornadoes, alongside damaging wind and large hail. The Mid-Atlantic doesn't see tornadoes as frequently as the plains, but when they happen, they often catch people off guard. This region is not as accustomed to tornado warnings as the Midwest, which adds an additional layer of risk. A tornado in this region can be particularly dangerous because people may not take it as seriously. Individual supercells are expected to quickly congeal into a line of storms, spreading the damaging wind threat across Delaware, Maryland, and eastern Virginia. That means the threat isn't just isolated, it's widespread. The line of storms can produce swaths of damage that extend for hundreds of miles. When these lines form, they can move quickly and produce widespread wind damage. If you have outdoor plans anywhere in the mid-Atlantic on Sunday afternoon or evening, think twice. Keep one eye on the sky and have a plan to get indoors quickly. A sudden storm can turn a pleasant afternoon into a dangerous situation in minutes. Have a way to get warnings. Have a plan to get indoors. Now we have to travel 2,500 miles out into the Pacific, because what's happening near Hawaii is unprecedented. It's the kind of event that forecasters talk about in quiet voices. This is Tropical Storm Lala, currently carrying maximum sustained winds around 60 meters per hour. But its current strength isn't the story. Its trajectory is. The storm is moving steadily westward and is expected to intensify as it approaches the Hawaiian Islands. This is not a storm that's going to fizzle out. Lala is forecast to strengthen and become a hurricane as it approaches the big island of Hawaii. The warm waters of the Pacific are providing fuel, and the atmosphere is unusually favorable for intensification. The storm is expected to reach hurricane strength just before or during its closest approach to the islands. The conditions are aligning in a way that makes this storm particularly dangerous. The last time a hurricane directly struck Hawaii was in 1992. That's more than 3 decades ago. An entire generation has grown up on those islands without experiencing a direct hurricane strike. Many residents have no memory of what a hurricane looks like. This lack of recent experience makes the population more vulnerable. People don't know what to expect. Lala is threatening to break a 30-year streak, and it's happening right now. A hurricane warning is already in effect for Hawaii County. Sit with the weight of that. The streak is about to end, and it's going to end this weekend. Rainfall totals of 8 to 12 inches are forecast across Maui and the Big Island, with isolated maximums reaching 25 inches on the Big Island. More than 2 feet of water falling onto some of the steepest volcanic terrain on Earth. This is not a typical rain event. This is potentially catastrophic. On slopes like that, water doesn't pool gently. It races downhill, gathering speed and debris, triggering flash floods and mudslides that can bury a road or a home in moments. This is not just a rain event, it's a landscape-altering event. The combination of steep terrain and extreme rainfall is one of the most dangerous scenarios in weather. Peak winds could reach 70 millimeters in exposed areas. On Hawaii's ridges and mountainsides, winds can run up to 30% stronger, so elevated communities could be hit even harder. The terrain amplifies the wind, making conditions even more dangerous. Why is the Pacific suddenly spawning a storm aimed at Hawaii? The answer is both simple and concerning. Part of the answer is the ocean itself. The waters in this part of the Pacific are running unusually warm, and warm water is the fuel that tropical systems feed on. A storm that would normally weaken in cooler waters can instead intensify all the way to the islands. The ocean temperatures are approaching record levels for this time of year. For 30 years, Hawaii's protection was never a permanent shield. It was a favorable roll of the dice repeated over and over, and dice don't come with guarantees. Lala is proving that. This is a stark reminder that the past is not always a reliable guide to the future. Now let's look at the Atlantic, because the tropical story has a second chapter there. A system east of the Lesser Antilles has faded to a much lower chance of formation, somewhere around 30%. The reason is wind shear, which is tearing it apart. Strong upper-level winds are preventing the system from organizing. The more interesting candidate is the tropical wave behind it, which has a better shot at developing. If it does, it will earn the next name on the Atlantic list, Dolly. What happens after this weekend? The pattern doesn't just switch off, the atmosphere is restless. Another storm system is expected to make a close pass around Monday and Tuesday, touching off another line of thunderstorms across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. The pattern remains active well into next week. Here's a thought to hold on to. Fall is only about a month away. If you've been longing for cooler air and quieter skies, relief is closer than it feels right now. But until then, stay vigilant. 3 threats, 1 weekend. Water is the quiet killer that takes more lives than the wind ever does. Don't drive through flooded roads. Turn around, don't drown. The Ohio Valley tornado threat is uncertain, but uncertainty is precisely why you prepare rather than wait. A streak of good fortune is not the same thing as safety. Hawaii is about to be reminded of that. If this breakdown helped you understand what's coming, hit that like button, because it helps more people find this in time to prepare. Subscribe so the next update lands right in your feed. Drop a comment. Have you been under weather threats for days? And if this helped you, check out my video on the western wildfires. Stay weather aware. Look out for your neighbors. I'll see you in the next one.